China just dropped a bomb on the AI world. Moonshot AI's Kimi K2 Thinking is now officially beating GPT-5 and Claude Sonnet 4.5 on multiple benchmarks. And here's the kicker. It's completely open source. We're talking about a Chinese model that cost just $4.6 million to train, outperforming models from OpenAI and Anthropic that likely cost billions. This isn't just another model release. This is a genuine shift in the AI landscape. Let me put this into perspective. For the longest time, open-source models have been playing catch-up, trailing behind closed proprietary systems by at least 3 to 6 months. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google have been leading with a comfortable margin. But Kimi K2 Thinking just shattered that dynamic. It scored 44.9% on humanity's last exam, a benchmark so notoriously difficult it's designed to test PhD-level knowledge across multiple domains. GPT-5 scored 41.7%. Claude Sonnet 4.5 scored just 32%. And we're not talking about a marginal lead here. This is a significant performance gap. But the benchmark dominance doesn't stop there. On BrowseComp, which tests a model's ability to search, browse, and reason over real-world web information, Kimi K2 Thinking crushed it with 60.2%, GPT-5 managed 54.9%, and Claude barely hit 24.1%. In coding benchmarks like SWE Bench Verified, it scored 71.3%. These aren't small wins. These are the kinds of results that make people in the AI community stop and say, wait, what just happened? Now you might be wondering what makes Kimi K2 Thinking so special. The secret sauce is something called interleaved reasoning. Traditional reasoning models think everything up front, produce one long chain of thought, and then deliver a final answer. It's like planning an entire road trip before you leave the house. But if your initial plan has a flaw, the whole thing falls apart. Interleaved reasoning works differently. It takes incremental steps, thinks a bit, acts, evaluates the result, thinks again, and keeps going. It's more like how humans actually work. You try something, see what happens, adjust your approach, and move forward. This makes Kimi K2 Thinking incredibly powerful for what we call agentic tasks. These are complex workflows where the AI needs to use multiple tools, make decisions on the fly, and work through problems that require dozens or even hundreds of steps. Kimi K2 Thinking can execute 200 to 300 sequential tool calls without any human intervention. It's doing cycles of think, search, browse, code, think again, all autonomously. This is what true AI agents look like, and it's operating at a level we haven't seen before in an open model. Let's talk about the architecture because this is where things get really interesting. Kimi K2 Thinking is a mixture of experts model with 1 trillion total parameters. But here's the clever part. It only activates 32 billion parameters per inference. This sparse activation approach means you get the benefits of a massive model without the insane computational costs. It's like having access to a library with 1 trillion books. But you only need to pull 32 billion off the shelf at any given moment. And then there's the quantization. Moonshot trained this model using quantization-aware training, releasing it natively in INT4 format. For those not familiar with the technical jargon, this basically means they compressed the model to run twice as fast while maintaining the same performance. All those benchmark scores I mentioned earlier, those were achieved using the INT4 version, not the full precision model. They're essentially saying, we beat everyone while running on less hardware. That's a flex if I've ever seen one. Speaking of hardware, here's something wild. Because of this efficient design, people have actually managed to run Kimi K2 Thinking locally on high-end MacBook Pros and Mac Studios. You'd need to spend around $13,000 on hardware, so it's not exactly budget-friendly. But the fact that the #1 model in the world can potentially run on your desk is absolutely crazy. Just a few years ago, that would have been science fiction. The model also supports a 256,000 token context window, which means it can handle massive amounts of information in a single conversation. Whether you're processing long documents, maintaining context across hundreds of reasoning steps, or working through complex agentic workflows, it has the memory to keep everything straight. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. This is a Chinese model, released by a Beijing-based startup backed by Alibaba and Tencent. And it's worth noting that Moonshot trained this model on NVIDIA's older H800 GPUs, chips that were banned for export to China in late 2023. Despite having less access to cutting-edge hardware than their American counterparts, they still managed to build something that outperforms the best closed-source models from Silicon Valley. That's remarkable algorithmic innovation. The cost comparison is striking. While the exact training costs for GPT-5 and Claude Sonnet 4.5 aren't public, industry estimates suggest these models cost hundreds of millions to billions of dollars to develop. Kimi K2 Thinking cost $4.6 million. Even if we account for differences in methodology and scale, we're talking about a cost reduction of several orders of magnitude. This completely changes the economics of AI development. And here's what makes this even more significant. Kimi K2 Thinking isn't just open source in name. It's released under a modified MIT license, which means developers have full access to the weights, can modify them, deploy them commercially, and build on top of them. The only restriction is if your application serves over 100 million monthly active users or generates over $20 million in monthly revenue, you need to display Kimi K2 prominently in your interface. For most use cases, that's essentially no restriction at all. This release is sending shockwaves through the industry for a reason. For years, the narrative has been that closed, proprietary models are necessary because they're simply better. Companies argued that keeping models behind API walls was justified by superior performance. But Kimi K2 Thinking just demolished that argument. The best performing reasoning model available right now isn't a closed commercial product, it's an open source system accessible to anyone. What does this mean for the future? Well, we're seeing a fundamental shift in the balance of power in AI. Open models are no longer playing catch-up, they're leading. And this creates a completely different dynamic for the industry. Developers and researchers now have access to frontier-level AI without vendor lock-in, without API costs spiraling out of control, and without dependence on commercial providers who can change terms or shut down access at any time. The implications are massive. Enterprises building AI-powered systems can now deploy state-of-the-art models on their own infrastructure. Researchers can inspect, modify, and improve upon cutting-edge AI without restrictions. Startups can build innovative applications without worrying about API pricing eating their margins. This is what democratization of AI actually looks like. You can try Kimi K2 Thinking right now on kimi.com. The full agentic mode is rolling out soon, and API access is already available for developers who want to integrate it into their applications. The model weights are on Hugging Face, ready to download and deploy. So here's the bottom line. We've just witnessed a genuine inflection point in AI. The gap between open and closed models has essentially collapsed. A Chinese startup with a fraction of the resources of Silicon Valley giants just released a model that's outperforming the best proprietary systems in the world. And they did it while making it freely available to everyone. The future of AI isn't locked behind paywalls and corporate API gates. It's open, it's accessible, and it's already here. This is the moment we'll look back on and recognize as the turning point when open-source AI truly came of age. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit subscribe, leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.